Now, helping us with business empowerment today is someone who is an expert probably in both. Douglas Tuman. He's the Town of Hempstead Commissioner of Engineering. Doug, welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Very much appreciate it.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm currently the Commissioner of Engineering for the Town of Hempstead. A lot of people don't know, but the Town of Hempstead is the largest town in America by certain measures. So I'm basically, as Commissioner of Engineering, I'm in charge of all the infrastructure for the town, primarily the roads and the drainage. There's over 1,100 miles of roads throughout the town. Anybody that lives within the town is familiar with, the town's infrastructure and the fact that, it is one of the oldest suburbs in America. So everything's starting to actually crumble at the same time. So I'm constantly fighting that battle, trying to use, the budget we have to most efficiently, fix our infrastructure and improve it. So Commissioner of Engineering for the Town of Hempstead. I'm a professional engineer. I'm also an attorney. I went to law school at night while working during the day in government, kind of worked my way up the ladder in government, and became an attorney at night as well.
So now for a Commissioner of Engineering, Doug, what is your day-to-day or your office's day-to-day duties? Are they in the field? Are you guys, just into the paperwork and the plans? Explain that a little bit to our audience out there.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So a little bit of both, right? So, I have my field guys that are in the field all day. I'm kind of, I'm the commissioner, so I'm overseeing everything. I'm more the big picture guy. So I'm mostly in the office. I do go out quite a bit. I think maybe more than most. I like to interact with, the residents as much as I can. But yeah, basically I'm there trying to work with what we got in terms of budget all the time and creatively think about how we can do more with less. So, one of the things we figured out essentially is how to pave more roads with less dollars by using technology. So I went out, I had all the roads throughout the entire town essentially surveyed, scanned, so we could assess the condition of all the roads, then use that data to help determine which roads to do first, not necessarily doing the worst ones first. So kind of unintuitively doing some roads that are kind of excuse the pun, middle of the road. So things that aren't in horrible condition, but doing them before they get to that point of no return and using different approaches to fix them. So, rather than waiting for a road to become irreparable, we do it when it's in that kind of mid-range to extend its life. It's more less costly to do, and then the road itself lasts longer. So I know this is kind of boring stuff, but unfortunately that's what engineering is all about. But very important. And, I've effectively managed to figure out how to do less road, more road miles for less money. So that's one of the things I'm always thinking about and just trying to implement creative technologies to do that.
Well, as a New Yorker and as a Long Islander, that's definitely important to me. So not boring at all.
Okay, good.
Exactly.
Now, how have things worked for you with the pandemic? Has that made things more difficult? Has it made things easier in terms of less people on the road? How have things been?
Yeah, that's very good question. So yeah, we kept going during the pandemic. In terms of construction, there was a little bit of a slowdown there, but for the most part, we kept going. We had a lot of active things in construction, so we kept them in construction. We had to stop a little bit. For the most part, we kept going, and there was kind of a silver lining there with less cars being on the road, so we were able to get in, get out in areas where we were doing construction. So it obviously had an effect on us. It's had an effect on everyone, but we did try to benefit where we could in terms of doing more construction in areas where it may take longer normally.
Fantastic. So now you're taking a slight pivot and throwing your hat into the ring of politics. What inspired you to take that next step?
Oh boy, yeah, I don't know. Good question. So yeah, this is my first time ever running for office. So obviously I've been involved in government pretty much my entire adult life. So, been around plenty of elected officials, but yeah, never personally ran for office. And I just thought, I've always kind of been on the sidelines or actually behind the scenes. I've helped out a lot with the local Republican Party, kind of behind the scenes, trying to help them out. And I just thought the only way I could kind of start to implement the things that I want to implement, my vision for the party is really to just kind of take the helm, get out there and run for office. And then I figure, if elected, then I'd be able to have a much larger effect on the things I was trying to achieve. So I always tell people, reason I'm running is for, because of my love of my 6-year-old daughter. I want her to grow up in a world where liberty, prosperity, and equality are at an all-time high. So that's kind of a little mantra that I keep going in the back of my head as I go out there and I campaign. I'm just trying to, really improve things and set our country on the right course so that we can continue to, be the best.
Absolutely.
Now you're getting your message out there. Obviously, you're utilizing technology. Tell us a little bit about some of your work with YouTube.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm on YouTube all the time. I have a Monero talk. We could get into that if you want, but I'm very much into cryptocurrency. So it's another little hobby I have on the side. So I've been running a Monero show, and then with the campaign, I started trying to be active on YouTube for the campaign itself. So bringing experts on and talking about issues. It's a little hard to keep sustainable. I got to keep booking guests and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a very important medium. You could, just like we're doing here, you could have deep conversations and get the word out about things, as opposed to just kind of the traditional political, sound bites that you hear from politicians. It's become very hard to make a determination whether or not you should support something based on a sound bite. So trying to do more long form things, which people are like, oh, who's going to watch an hour-long video? Well, you'd be surprised. People that are interested and want to engage, they'll sit and they'll watch. So use YouTube in that respect. I'm also using, obviously, so on my signs, I should be wearing my shirt right now, but I have shirts printed out as well that basically has a phone number on it, 516-308-1703. And it's, here, I'll put it right there.
There you go.
And, we have that on our shirt, that my shirts, and on my car, I have an 8-foot sign that I put on my small Subaru. And I drive around. It's, text Doug if you want to chat. So simple technology. Texting is a pretty simple medium, but everybody has a smartphone. Everybody texts, so it's a way to engage directly with as many constituents as I can. And you'd be surprised. I've had hundreds and hundreds of people reach out to me, texting me saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And instead of it just being kind of like a Facebook thing, it's more personable, because lots of times I end up just getting on the phone, talking to them and having a personal conversation. And then, I tell their friends the same thing. Please have people call me. One of the things I'm looking to do, if elected, is implement a text-based polling system. So I would text out every issue that's on the floor of Congress and allow people to interact directly. So I would say, hey, what do you guys think about this bill? Yay or nay? And allow every constituent to text back, and then use that to help determine how I legislate in Congress. So kind of implementing a more direct communication with constituents, allowing all constituents to engage. So often, a Republican may win and then the Democrats are forgotten about, or a Democrat may win and then the Republican constituents are forgotten about. So this is a way for all constituents to continue to engage with their local elected official. And ultimately, that's what I think the role of a congressperson is to be the true representative of all the people. So I'm trying to use a simple text-based polling system to improve that.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHBC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, and our guest today is Douglas Tuman, Town of Hempstead Commissioner of Engineering. So, yeah, I think that's pretty fantastic, utilizing the technology, to reach more people and to get people interactive. Now, from your vantage point, how have you seen things, with the YouTube channel, with utilizing texting? Have you seen, more responses that way than the traditional way as of late?
Well, I don't really have much to compare it to because it's my first time ever running for office. But I think people are, they're really when I tell other people, like I have hundreds of people texting me, I think people are very impressed by that. So I think it's working, I think they're very impressed too when they text and they actually get a response back. I don't always respond instantly. It may take me a few hours. It may even take me a day, but I get back to everybody. And they're very impressed when it's actually Doug Tuman, not somebody working on the campaign. And then they're even more impressed when I pick up the phone and call them. So it's actually new technology, but very old school thinking in terms of just trying to work with people face to face. And I think that, one of the messages I'm putting out there when I go out and actually canvas in person, I've actually been going down to Long Beach a lot because that's one of the places where people are out and about right now. So you go on the boardwalk, you can talk to people. And so kind of my opener right now is, well, first I find out where they live, if they're in my district. And then if they do, I'm like, well, do you know who your congressperson is? And, 9 times out of 10, people don't know the name. Even if they know, they've like forgotten the name. And so then that's my opener. I'm like wearing my shirt. I have my card. I'm like, all right, well, you will now. My name's Doug Tuman. If you elect me, you'll never forget your congressperson and I'll never forget you. Here's my phone number. Text or call me anytime. This is what being a representative is supposed to be about. You're supposed to be in touch with the people. And like that goes a very long way. And they're like, oh, Doug Tuman. All right. So, that's a big part of my message. Is really just getting back to basics. Everybody's very entrenched in politics right now, and they're seeing things through the lens of red or blue. I am on the Republican line. I just won the primary with over 70% of the vote. But, if you see any of my signs, you don't know, is this guy a Republican or a Democrat? And, Republicans kind of criticize me a little bit there. They're like, why aren't you out there just saying, I'm Doug Tuman, I'm the Republican candidate? And the reason is I don't want to trigger people. And with everything that's going on right now, I want to be able to engage with everyone. So it allows me to start to have the conversation. Eventually we get to it and I tell them, but it doesn't keep things, red or blue. It's let's just have a conversation. I'm looking to just be your representative and everybody's representative. And it doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter what I believe in. Ultimately, what you should be doing is looking to elect somebody like myself who's pledging to be your fierce advocate. It's like when you hire an attorney. Yeah, you may not agree with everything the attorney agrees with. He may be, pro-abortion, you may be pro-life, but if he's a good attorney, he's going to represent you, right? He knows the law. He's going to understand what it is, the facts. He's going to understand what it is you're being accused of, and he's going to apply it properly to represent you. And that's, at the end of the day, I think that's what a good representative is supposed to do. It's not so much about what their beliefs are, but it's about having the skill set to deal with people throughout your entire district, no matter what party they're from or, what community they're from, and to genuinely understand their issues and then to work with everybody, come to a consensus and go advocate on their behalf.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. You have a new show that's called Elect Tuman. So let's talk about some of the issues that you have on your website. So we did our research on you, Doug. We did some little.
Oh boy.
So let's talk about, COVID-19 and having an immune society. What is that?
Yeah. All right. Well, first things, I definitely need to start updating my website more. I'm kind of I have a great team that I'm working with. Most of them are, pretty much all of them are volunteers, which is actually very inspiring. Young people that have reached out to help me. We'll be continuing to update the website so we could have more issues on there. But I think what I was talking about in that was really just kind of being ready for any type of event like this, right? So obviously it was a black swan event, right? So how do you prepare for a black swan event? Well, I mean, I think what we need to do is really, work at what we're best at in America, which is, and I always kind of go back to this with everything, open and free markets, the free flow of capitalism, letting that solve problems. So less regulation. So even with Corona, some of the issues we saw was with the response, not being able to get ventilators fast enough and masks fast enough. And a lot of that had to do with, well, number one, we don't necessarily build all those things here in this country anymore, right? And I think there's a little bit of a problem there. So America needs to kind of become a little more self-reliant again. I think we once were. Shouldn't be about outsourcing everything. Yes, it's got to, I believe in, a global economy, obviously, but I think we need to be a little bit more self-reliant. Things need to be more decentralized in that, our communities and this country need to be able to respond to these things on our own without relying on others so much. So that's kind of what I meant there. And just kind of like fortifying us, just like we fortify for the next inevitable storm, which we're all familiar with on Long Island. I'm certainly familiar with being the Commissioner of Engineering. So doing that for, potential black swan events like this. So being ready, being prepared, and more so in just like kind of what the structure of government is and what kind of regulations are out there that will allow us to quickly and easily respond to anything, no matter what it is. So with less bureaucracy getting in the way, and we could, do what we do best as Americans, use our ingenuity to solve problems on the spot without government getting in the way to fix whatever problem it is that approaches. Because I think that's what Americans always do at best. And I think, with this, we saw some, it not really happening. We saw there being some problems with, government kind of getting in the way of the people that are there to solve the problems.
Yeah, definitely some lag time. So let's talk about how are you going to make our district affordable? Long Island and New York in general, nationwide, is one of the most expensive places to live on earth.
I know. I live in a very humble studio apartment over here. I face it personally. I still have student loans. I went to engineering school. I pretty much paid for my way there. My parents helped me out as much as they could. I went to law school at night, still paying loans there. I know it's tough, especially with everything that's going, kids these days, they don't have it easy. They don't have it easy. I mean, you have people that, are, late 30s that are still living in their parents' basement, no fault of their own. It's just extremely hard to make it in Nassau County in New York, So I don't have a silver bullet on how to make it more affordable. But I think, once again, so going back to this, so less regulation, right? So maybe we do need some more housing on Long Island, right? So allowing the market to play itself out, allowing supply to reach demand, so maybe we see our downtown areas get built up more, make them more hubs, where we could have housing that young people can afford and want to live at. And, maybe there's nice stores and restaurants to start to open up there. I mean, there's a lot of like dilapidated downtown areas in this district that could be beautiful, wonderful places that people are attracted to and want to go to. And maybe they'd be more urban-esque. Obviously people like the suburban aspects of Long Island. And, I think that could be maintained while allowing some of these more urban clusters to blossom. We're right outside of New York, right outside the greatest city in the world. And, people want to live here, which is a great thing. They just can't afford to do it. So essentially allowing supply to meet demand.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Today, our guest is Doug Tuman. Doug, thank you so much. We're really excited for you to be here. And there's a lot of issues that are happening, especially with this upcoming election. So I know you want to invest in infrastructure. The unemployment is really, it's a major sticking point, especially no fault of anyone's, but really the pandemic. So that's really going to be a challenge going into November and probably for the next 2 to 3 years. But as a mom, one question I have is, and I know you're a dad, we saw your lovely daughter on the website. What are your thoughts on, virtual schooling and going back to school? Please share with us.
Well, I mean, I think we need to get kids back in school. It's the only way we can reopen the economy fully again, right? So, I mean, everybody relies upon that. Parents can't go back to work unless their kids are back in school. Not to mention just, all the necessary reasons for why we need kids in school. They need to have, need to be socializing in person like normal human beings. I think online learning is great. And I think there is, once again, a silver lining here with the virus. I think we could see a lot of innovation there. I was just talking with somebody today. I mean, these are old ideas, but that may actually start to come to fruition. I mean, with everybody learning online, you can start to provide the greatest resources we have to everybody equally. I mean, you could have the greatest minds in the world, the greatest teachers in the world, essentially being, there for anybody that has access to it on the internet, right? So there's a lot of interesting things we can do with that in terms of improving education. People with it, everybody now is being forced essentially to rely on the internet more and for educational purposes. So I think there's a silver lining there, and we really need to hone in on that. And once again, I think it's, I would hope that the market would come in and realize that and start to come up with solutions there. Not so much government mandating things, but the market's seeing opportunity there. And I think you're going to see it happen. But that's being said, in addition to, you know, the benefits of online learning, because I think there are, I mean, anything anybody wants to learn right now is on the internet. We all know that. So, I mean, but imagine if you could, you know, get taught by the premier physics teacher at MIT when you're, going to college at Nassau Community. There's no reason why that can't happen in this day and age. It's already starting to do it. And with Corona, maybe we move closer to that. But I do think you need in-person learning, and especially for younger kids, and for the purposes of just allowing the rest of the economy to get back up and running. So it's vital that kids get back to actual real world schooling.
Definitely. And we need to get Ray out his man cave because he's home with 3 ladies.
Help.
We know Ray
a whole nother show.
Wants to escape soon. So Ray, you know, Ray's with Jovia. I'm a small business owner. It's going to take the economy some time. I think, you know, we're going through different phases. New York is reopening. We're getting back to business. But what are your thoughts? How are we really going to ramp up business over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, I know, you know, I think people need to feel safe, obviously, right? So I think there's this, this virus, it was bad, but it's been very politicized. I think everybody who's watching this can admit to that, right? Mm-hmm. So you have both sides politicizing it, which I think is a horrible thing. I think to get back up and running, we need to kind of, the panic needs to die out a little bit. Perception needs to start to change. We need to start to realize that we're going to be living with this, just like we live with the flu. Granted, right now it's a lot, worse than the flu in some ways, but, we live with the fact that, tens of thousands of people die every year from the flu, and the flu comes out every, we need to start to change our perception and understand that we're going to have to live with this. And what I think what we really need to do is start to redirect, or specifically direct our funds and our resources towards protecting those that we know are vulnerable. We know who the vulnerable people are. We know who this virus really affects the most. It doesn't affect young kids. I mean, yeah, there's that 1 in 100,000, but for the most part, young kids are fine with this. A healthy adult, for the most part, is fine. I had coronavirus. I had it back in March. A young adult, healthy person, for the most part, is fine. We need to protect those that we know if they got it, they're in real trouble. And we need to put our resources towards making sure that they can live, their life. They could get, the food they need, the shelter they need, and be quarantined if necessary, while the rest of society gets back to normal. We can't sacrifice our free and open society to fight this disease. It's not, it's just, there's way too much of a cost there. So we got to start to change our perception there a little bit and realize this is something we have to live with, and we have to strive to all get back to normal. And I really think a lot of that has to do with the change in perception of how we're seeing this thing.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And it's so tough. There's a lot of misconceptions, and I think, so hearing you talk, I think what's missing in politics is that there used to be people who were just kind of reasonable and in the middle. It seems like there's so much extremes out there. And it seems like that makes things very tough for people to get on the same page. So what are some of the things you're thinking that would kind of help people get back on the same page with this type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody needs to de-escalate a little bit, not just for the corona issue, but, we could even talk about, the Black Lives Matter and what's going on there with racial issues. I think everybody on all sides need to de-escalate a little bit, realizing there's much more that unites us than divides us, kind of get back to basics as Americans, realizing we're all neighbors. We're all in this together. At the end of the day, 99.9% of everybody that lives in this district or lives in America wants the same thing. They want to be able to live in an open, free society, act as a free individual, buy a home, have your families be safe. So everybody essentially wants the same thing. So we got to start with that common ground and realize, all right, just because I might be red and you might be blue doesn't mean you're evil and I'm good, or vice versa. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily believe in everything that some person in your party says. Treat people with respect as individuals, start to engage like neighbors, without labeling people, and just be open-minded. And I think that comes from, people like us just getting the message out there, just being reasonable, having reasonable conversations, and other people being like, oh yeah, I think that's what we got to do. I mean, on social media, everything is so amped up, you have a lot of people out there taking advantage of others, putting misinformation out there on both sides, and then everybody using it like ammunition. And it's like a sports game, it's like Yankees fans versus Mets fans or whatever it may be. And it's like they're more concerned about their team than the actual issues and people and working together as neighbors. And it's like we got to realize we're all on the same team here. We're all Americans, especially we're all constituents of the 4th District. So it's just really, I know it sounds like a non-ant, but it's really communication. And once again, changing perception, getting everybody back on that same page of working together as neighbors.
Yeah, I think that's a good note for us to kind of close on. How is it best to contact you? I mean, I know we can text you, but can you give us your information?
Yeah, so I'll say it again, because really I think it is, the phone number, 516-308-1703. And, text me or call me. Everybody texts. I will get back to you. That's really the best way, the most, to personally get in touch with me. And then I could keep track of you. I may ask you your name and stuff, so I know who you are, so I can keep track of our conversations. So 516-308-1703. My slogan is, to go off that last rant I just did, is build a brighter future together. So I set out with that slogan. This is before coronavirus hit. This is before, we had all this racial tension come to fruition with the recent horrific incidents that we saw. And I thought it was something, this is what we need to do. Now more than ever, I'm like, wow, we got to really start building a brighter future together. So I truly mean it. That's why I'm trying to, kind of stay as agnostic as possible in terms of working with everybody. And, just give me a chance. Let me try to work with you. And, maybe we could do it. We could bring everybody together as neighbors and start to improve this district and improve the country.
So I have one quick last question.
Sure.
When you see the Douglas Tuman van go by, what do you want them to think and remember?
I guess, I wanted to think, that this guy is actually, he's a genuine guy, not a politician, that's actually going to try to do what he sets out to do, which is engage with his constituents, understand what issues they care about, and they'll go advocate on their behalf. So much so that he's putting his number up on the billboard on his car and saying, just reach out to me, call me, and I'll personally talk to you. So, I mean, that's the message. I'm Doug, just a normal guy like you. I happen to live in the district, and I'm just setting out on this mission to really try to improve representative democracy. It has become a passion of mine. And yeah, just reach out. I'm trying to be the candidate that's most accessible.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. And it's new DB's philosophy for the week: build a brighter future together. That's Douglas Tuman.
Right, I want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, your co-hosts and producers. This is an NCC Foundation Business Leaders Council production. Visit ncc.edu/WHPC for more information. Available on iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nash Community College Foundation, on the voice of Nash Community College, 90.3 WHBC. We'll talk with you next week.